You are not a noble. You are not a soldier. You are the mouth that decides if the Son of Heaven lives. Every bowl set before him passes your lips first, one taste, in front of the whole silent court, and then you wait. Because the poison that kills emperors does not act fast. You will not drop where you kneel. You will swallow and bow and feel your own body for the first sign, while the most powerful man on earth watches your face to learn whether his supper is safe. No one in that court will ever thank you. They will not learn your name. If you live through the meal, you are nothing a servant who ate. If you die at it, you are still nothing a servant who ate the wrong thing. You are the most necessary man in the palace, and the most forgettable, and both of those are true at exactly the same moment, every single day. You did not choose this. A taster is not hired. A taster is sentenced to it. You were a condemned man or a slave with no name the world would miss, and they offered you the one bargain the palace ever offers your kind: taste for the emperor and keep breathing for now. Other men are given a trade. You were given a reprieve with a string on it, and the string is your throat. So run the two clocks, because they are both already running. The first is inside you. In the food you just swallowed, a slow poison takes its time. So the question is never the taste. It is the hours after it, whether your fingers go cold before the next meal. The second is out there, in the court eunuch cliques, rival consorts, ministers with armies of cousins, and every single one of them has a reason to want the man on that day as dead. Which means every one of them has a reason to reach this bowl. The closer the knife gets to the throne, the closer it gets to your tongue. You are the line. Level 1, sentenced to the table. To understand the bargain, understand who they choose. They do not give this trade to a trusted man. A trusted man is worth too much to spend. They give it to the spendable, the condemned in the cells, offered away off the execution ground if they will kneel and taste instead. The slaves and the bought servants who were never asked their will about anything. The nameless, whose dying costs the palace a line of ink and nothing more. You were one of those. You knelt in front of a man who did not look at you, and a bargain was struck over your head in a language of duty you had no part in. You did not agree to it. You simply were not killed that day on the condition that you might be killed any day after by supper on the emperor's behalf. Level 2, the silver pin. Now learn the ritual, because the ritual is most of what you have. Before the emperor's dish reaches you, there is a test the whole court believes in. A slender pin of silver or a silver chopstick touched to the food, and if it darkens, if it tarnishes, the food is said to be poisoned. You perform this every meal. It is solemn, it is watched, and the court trusts it completely. Here is what no one at that table knows. The belief is older than the truth. Silver does darken, but it darkens against the sulfur in a poison, not against the poison itself. And the quiet poisons that reach an emperor can leave it bright and clean. So the pin can pass a poisoned dish and gleam while it does it. You are not protected by the silver. You only look like you are. The real test, the one that works, is not the pin. The real test is you, your tongue, your gut, and the hours of waiting that the pin pretends to make unnecessary. Level 3, the wait. So this is the work, and the work is mostly waiting. The taste itself takes a heartbeat. The dread takes the rest of the day. You swallow, you bow, the emperor eats, the court moves on, and you go back to your place against the wall and begin the part no one watches, feeling for it. A coldness that might start in the fingertips, a turn low in the gut, a numbness at the lip that would arrive a little too late to be the spice. There is no running the poison. If it is there, is already in you. Your legs cannot outrun your own blood. So you stand still and you wait, at breakfast and again at the next meal for years. And one morning, against the wall, a kitchen boy whispers what he saw. A steward taking coins from a consort's man by the bowls, and a senior taster who has not been seen in 3 days. No one says the missing man's name. You file it where you file everything, and you go back to feeling for the cold. Level 4, the meal you already died at. It is an ordinary supper. You taste, you bow, You take your place against the wall, and the cold starts in your fingertips, real this time. It climbs into the knuckles the way you always knew it would, and your gut turns, and you think, this is the one. Across the hall, the Emperor stops chewing and watches your face, because your face is his instrument, and what it is telling him is that his supper is poisoned. You brace to fail in front of the whole court to ring the alarm with your own collapse, the last thing the trade will ever ask of you. You lift your hand to sound it, and the cold reaches your wrist and stops. The turn in your gut settles. It was the chill of a long night and a hard winter spice arriving late nothing, an ordinary nothing. The Emperor's jaw moves again. The court never knew. You have just survived a death you already finished dying. You go back to the wall. Your hand is still shaking. Level 5. The season closes in. After that, the cold never fully leaves you. And the court chooses this season to stir. A succession in question. A consort wanting her son-made heir. A eunuch faction deciding the Emperor has lived long enough. The bribe by the bowls was not a rumor. The missing taster was not nothing. The knife you have felt circling the throne for years has stopped circling and started to aim, and it aims through the one mouth that stands between every poisoner in the Empire and the Son of Heaven. Through you. Level 6, the senior taster. And then, if the dishes keep coming up clean, season after season, and your hand stays steady through hundreds of meals, something almost human happens. You are promoted. The palace, which spends tasters like ink, has a use for one who survives. Experience. You become a senior taster, and with it comes a wage close to a real official's, a rank that means men a step above you must now be civil. And strangest of all the palace's word, that if you fall in service, your family will be provided for. For the first time, the bargain has a second side. You are still the mouth that eats the poison, but now you are a mouth with a salary and a name in a ledger and a household that will not starve if the worst day comes. For one season, you are almost a man with a future, and you let yourself, just a little, believe in it. This is the warmest the world will ever get. Hold it. It does not last. Level 7. The season of knives. Because the court does not stay still, and when it moves toward the throne, and the throne eats from your hands. A succession is in question. A consort wants her son made heir, and another son removed. A eunuch faction that controlled the Emperor feels the ground shifting and decides the Emperor has lived long enough. Now, the intrigue is not a rumor in a corridor. It is a plan. And the plan needs a kitchen. The closer the factions push toward the throne, the more certain it becomes that the next move will come through food, because food is the quiet weapon. No army, no announcement, just a bribe, a moment alone with a dish, and a man at the dais who eats only what you have eaten first. They are not trying to get past the guards anymore. They are trying to get past you. Every meal in this season, you lift the bowl knowing the odds have changed, that somewhere a decision has been made, and the only question left is which supper carries it. Level 8, the dish that finally has it. And one day, it comes. Nothing announces it. It is a meal like 10,000 meals, the same bowls, the same silence, the silver pin gleaming its useless promise, and you taste, and you bow, and nothing is wrong, and the Emperor eats, and the court moves on. And then, against the wall, the weight that has always ended in nothing does not end in nothing. The cold starts in your fingers, the turn comes low and certain in your gut. The numbness arrives at your lip too late to be the spice. Exactly the way you always knew it would. You do not cry out, there is no cry that helps. You do the last thing the trade requires. You fail visibly. You let your body ring the alarm so the dish is pulled, and the Emperor does not touch the second bite. You buy his life with the hours you have left. The poison was slow, the way the worst ones are. You have time to understand that the meal you protected him from was the meal that was meant for you all along. Level 9. What it cost, count it now, because no one else will. You tasted the poison so a man you never spoke to could finish his supper. You stood between every faction in the Empire and the throne, and you did it with your mouth, and the empire's thanks is the wage they already paid. The emperor lives. The court resets around him as if nothing happened. A hand is found, or a hand is invented. Someone is punished. The kitchens are watched a little harder for a month, and the throne goes on eating. Your family receives what the ledger promised them, which is the one true mercy in the whole arrangement, and it is a mercy you bought with your own body at a table where no one knew your face. You were the most necessary man in the most powerful house on earth, and you find out, at the end, that necessary was never the same thing as valued. They needed the mouth. They were never going to remember the man. Level 10. The next mouth. So what survived? Not your name that is a line in a household account, if it is anywhere. Not your story. Emperors have chroniclers. Tasters have ledgers. What survived is the Son of Heaven and the court around him, and the long, quiet war of poison and patience that you stood in the middle of for as long as your body held. The dais is wiped down. The bowls are washed. And tomorrow, before the emperor's first meal, a new man is brought up from the cells or in from the slave quarters, and the same bargain is struck over his head that was struck over yours. Taste and keep breathing for now. He will learn the silver pin that does not work. He will learn the weight. He will kneel exactly where you knelt and lift the bowl exactly as you lifted it and feel his own fingers in the hours after, exactly as you did, and the most powerful man on earth will watch his face to learn whether supper is safe. You did not choose this, and neither will he. The throne needs a mouth, and there is always another mouth. That was the whole of the bargain you were born too poor and too condemned to refuse. Another life history for God is waiting. Subscribe.